All right, so we'll get started. Welcome, everyone. My name is Jennifer. I'm the account manager for Singapore. And today's session, we're going to go through the CAS 360 Singapore Level 1 session. So in this session, we're going to cover the basic foundational tools and features that you'll be able to use within the software. And each of the section will do a bit of a demonstration and practice so that we can see how we can navigate using the CAS 360. So in lesson number 1, we're going to cover getting started. So we'll learn different tools and how we navigate the features within the software, which includes your navigation toolbar, which can be found on the left-hand side of the CAS 360. We're also going to learn how to use our resource hub. So a quick summary of resource hub. This is essentially where you can find how to connect with our support ticket, log a support, share your feedback, or even find useful links from our support hub guide. Also going to learn how to set your notification system. As you know, in CAS 360, you have the ability to subscribe or read your notifications within your tool. We're also going to learn setting up your email subscription so you can get your different subscription email or notification coming from the software, and also inviting other users and setting up your registered filing agents. So in lesson number 2, we'll cover more on onboarding the company data onto CAS 360 using the different types of loading the company methods, which includes company registrations, incorporating companies' documents, companies, so processing all your incorporation documents and your document production. We're also going to learn how to import company data from Accra's database onto your CAS 360 software. So that will help you save time manually entering the information onto the software. So that's for loading companies. On lesson number 3, we're going to cover on company address change. So the different types of methods that we can do in your company address change, which includes if you need to change the location of your registered CAPT, registered office address change, and also how we navigate your contracts and address if you need to edit or amend your contact information or addresses of a contact. Now, in lesson number 4, we'll cover more on officers' changes. So in this particular lesson, we'll do a different exercises, including appointing an officer and resigning an officer within the software. What are the different documents that we can produce within that process? And also, we're going to learn how to add in a bank account. So the bank account information is very important, particularly if you are processing a post-incorporation documents for your company. Next, lesson number 5, we're going to cover more on members changes. So we have different types of member changes that's available within the software, which includes your allotments of shares, subscriptions of shares. We're also going to learn how to process a share transfers. And within this particular tool, this is where we'll learn how to process your registrable controllers and nominee shareholders. So all this feature can be found within your shareholders tool. If you have the chance to explore the software before this training, you will notice that this feature is inside your shareholders tool. Lesson number 6 will cover on a company name change. And this section will teach you how to process a company name change and also process the documents for a company name change. And lastly, documents. So in this section, we're gonna learn how to navigate 2 ways of navigating document. One is a global documents, which you will be able to find it on the left-hand side of your navigation toolbar. and also company documents. On a company level, you'll be able to see what are the documents that you have prepared for a particular company, right? So I'm just going to exit. So just a very quick housekeeping matter before we started. So this section is a recorded sessions and all the participants are on mute. So if you have any questions, feel free to let me know as well. Hold on a second. I think we have some issues at the moment. All right, I hope having some a bit of a technical issue, so hopefully you managed to hear my sessions. So I'll just be sharing a link in the webinar chat. So this link will is actually your manual for today's session. So as we go along with the training session, I'm also going to be showing some of the pages in this session in the training, just to like advise you what kind of important content that you'll need to learn when you're getting started or when you're setting up certain data in CAS 360. So for example, what are the things, a prerequisite information you need to do before you can even proceed with a certain process. All right. So do have a look at your webinar chat. I've posted a link for the Digi's training manual. And secondly, as mentioned earlier on, that this session is recorded. All the attendees will be on mute. So if you have any question, kindly post it in the Q&A section of your Zoom toolbar. All right. So I'll just exit over here. I'm going to go straight. So you will see this training manual on your webinar chat as well. So do have a look at that as side by side during the training process as well. All right, so we'll get started with lesson number 1. So in lesson number 1, we'll learn how to get started and set up your CAS 360 ready for you and your team members to use the software. So before that, when you log into the CAS 360 software, essentially the link for logging into the software will be this link. So I'll share this link as well for those of you who have yet to set up your account or you have forgotten to log into the software. You can just refer to this link. I do recommend you to bookmark this link as well so that it's easy for you to navigate. When you log into the software, you will need to log in using your email address and the password you set up. So for the new users, if you have yet been invited to log into the software, kindly let your account owner know or the main administrator of the software to invite you into the software as well. And as an account owner, if you are the main administrator for your firm's CAS 360 account license, kindly invite them as well. So I'm going to cover that in a later part of this training session, how to invite, but please do invite them if you already know how. And the whole process, when you are invited onto the software, you will receive 2 emails. One is in my welcome to my BGL, which is essentially your BGL portal. So I'm going to cover that in a second. And also your welcome to CAS 360. Now, once you have logged in your username, which is your email, and the password that you have set up, you can now log in into the software. So essentially, when you log into the software, automatically it brings you to the main dashboard. So you will see all the companies that you're managing into the main interface. This will be categorized based on the company name, the jurisdiction, alerts, company status, labels, and so on. So I'm just going to go through in a while for a second, these one, how to filter or how to navigate what you want to display in the dashboard. Now you see on the left-hand side over here, this is what we call navigation toolbar. So the navigation toolbar allows you to select the kind of process that you want to do for that company. So for example, in the company selection, this is where you can locate all the companies. And by selecting a company, this will bring you inside the company's profile. So inside the company profile is where all the company data is stored, whether it's your company name, your UEN, the registered filing agent that you have assigned for this company, its company status, name registration. You also have the different registered office address, your officers. So by default, it will select as current. And if you want to see all the officers, you can see that as well. Shareholders, company information, and so on. Trust, on the other hand, this was more for Australia and New Zealand. If you are managing Australia and Singapore companies, you are able to set up your trust information in this section over here. Next is your contact. In your contacts page, this is where you can store your company information, contacts information, whether it's an individual. An individual, by definition, in the software, it's a person that you want to save its contact informations, or a corporate contact, whether it's a corporate shareholders, your auditing firm that you're engaging, or a service provider that's attached to this company. You can't set them up as a company. We also have joint members, if you're managing any joint members as well, other entities, and so on. So in this contacts, you can see that you have two different tabs. One is global contact, and the other one is address. So this is where you can manage also your address if you need to add in a address, whether it's an office registered office address or address for your officers or shareholders or registrable controller or contacts. This is where you can navigate or manage the details as well. Next is your returns tab. So returns tab will allow you to see all the Singapore annual returns, upcoming ones, and it will filter based on the financial year and date filter right over here. Now, I'm not going to cover this in detail today. This will be more on your level 2 session, which will cover on preparing your annual returns and AGM documents. Next feature is your multi-company changes. So as you know, in scenarios where, for example, you are a secretary for multiple companies, and if there are any company changes that you want to apply for multiple companies, this is where you can process it under multi-company change. So this saves a lot of time when it comes to doing a bulk change for multiple company, whether it's a change of registered office address or a change of officer's status for companies. Freeform documents. So if this is where you can store your template for documents that is not prepared by CAS 360. So by default, there are documents that we have a standard that produced by the software itself. But if you're not able to find or locate that within the software, or you have your customized version, you can create the template and save it under Freeform. The next one is your documents. So all the documents that you export out in the software or send it across to your client will automatically be saved under global documents. Essentially, what it does is that it will create a folder for each document exported out from CAS 360. Here, your next tool is your messages. So messages are categorized based on inbox, outbox, pending, outbox, and ID verification as well. This one I won't cover much on these details today, but I'll cover a little bit more on the inbox and outbox. So inbox, in summary, this is where all all the informations from a third-party vendor. So as you know that we have connection with Accra and other digital signing platform, we will get the notification if there's any unsuccessful email or there's digitally signed documents. All these will not only be appearing on your notification icon, but also saved in your inbox. Whereas outbox are all the messages that get sent out from your software, which essentially all the emails. If you're using the email tool within the software and you send the document directly from CAS 360 to your client's email, you'll be able to see the status of that email in the outbox session. Next one will be reports. Reports are all your managerial reports that you can generate. We have different types of company reports. Other reports, like your people group report. Company registers, you can also generate your full company register sets and also AML reports if you're now using your compliance tab. So I'll not cover this topic on today's sessions. This will be much more covered on your level 2. Now going back to your navigation toolbar, so just a very quick navigation. So whenever you click onto the main tool, you will see there are different tab system in each. So an example over here in the main dashboard of company, you will see automatically company selection. But if, for example, you can see that in the company as well, I can also process company registration. So this is where I can process my company registration should I have a new client onboarding with me. Similarly, for search registry, if you want to purchase the business profile from Accra and populate it onto your CAS 360 software, this can be found under your company and search tab. So you can just easily navigate between the tab systems as well. Right. So any question in this toolbar? So if you have any questions, do post it on the Q&A section. Now, going back to the navigation toolbar, when you first started the software, you will see that your tool is going to look something like this. You have all your companies and then your toolbar. Now, when you see this particular arrow over here, simply click on the arrow to expand. This will expand out what we call advanced filter. So in each of these tools will have a specific filters. So for example, in here in a company, our advanced filter will allow you to filter based on the jurisdictions, alert filters, and labels as well. So for this exercise, we're going to select Singapore. And by selecting Singapore, it will automatically filter my 67 Singapore companies on my list. And system will automatically filter the type of alerts available for that jurisdiction. For this case, because I filter a Singapore company, automatically it filters down the filters based on AGM, annual return, AML, and annual review deadline, and so on. So if you are looking at your manual at the moment, on your page 9 onwards of your manual, each of these two will describe what kind of data that you can store into this information, into this tool, what you can also process in each of these feature categories. Now, next over here on the left-hand side of the manual, we call this the global search function. The global search function allows you to search and navigate in any company, trust, contact, or documents. So let's say if I am looking for a particular company like CAS 360 Singapore, for example, it will filter down to me based on my keyword. So I've got over here companies that has this keyword CAS 360 Singapore. So it'll filter down for me as well. And it will also categorize based on whether it's a company or a contact. So if earlier mentioned that in the contact, you can store a corporate, a contact, which is a corporate contact. It's not necessarily an individual, a person, but it's a company, right? This is particularly for corporate shareholders. This result will also display into the list. So you can see this is it's not a company in my subscription, but it's a contact instead. So that's what it means. And you can simply either click on that particular search. This will automatically bring you into the profile that of what you're looking for. So for this case, I've selected CAS 360 Singapore as the company that you are managing, and it therefore brought me to the general details or inside the profile of the company. Whereas if I were to select CAS 360 Singapore as a company contact, this will bring me to my global contacts. This contact over here is a corporate contact, right? So this is a little bit, some user might find this confusing. What's the difference? So the difference is that this is a corporate contact. This is where you can manage the information. If particularly this is useful if it's a corporate shareholder and you need to manage their information, but not necessarily your client. All right, so that's for global search function. Now, next tool that I want to cover is on the top right corner of your screen over here. So in the very top corner, you will see this icon over here that looks like square dots. This is what we call the app switcher. Now, this app switcher is a very useful tool to help you switch between application, between My BGL, your software, learning channel, and users. So I'm just going to cover a little bit more just to talk about this particular tool over here called My BGL. Now, as a user of CAS 360, it's essential to know your My BGL information. Your My BGL information is your profile with us, with BGL. So when somebody or when a company or our clients subscribe for any software under BGL, you will receive a welcome to my BGL email, which essentially prompt you to set up your password, right? So on an overview, you will see your name, your email address that you're using to log in the my BGL, your user role as I am an account owner, I'm the main administrator, your company's information, who is your BGL account manager, and the products that you use with BGL. So for Singapore, generally it's just CAS 360. In other jurisdiction, other countries, as we have multiple products in BGL, they will see not just the software CAS 360, but other software brands that they purchase with BGL. Now, on the left-hand side over here, this is where you can find your billing section. So if you're an account owner or the billing person, you will be able to see your digital copy of your invoice. If your license is up to for review, or rather it will expire within 3 months, you will see an e-invoice over here posted 3 months before the license expiry. So very quick tip as well is that before you renew your software license, do let us know that you're renewing whether you want to upgrade or downgrade to another tier of your license for your next 12-month subscription. You'll also be able to see your historical invoice over here. Contacts list, essentially these are the contacts in your firm who has been invited to my BGL. This can be controlled only by your account owner. Products, this will allow you to view the amount of company license you have used up against the purchased license, the purchase date, expiry, and most importantly, if you want to upgrade your license with my BGL, you can seamlessly upgrade your license software if you need more space or slots to accommodate to your new clients onboarding. Payment details. This is particularly important because when you use your search registry tool, which we're going to cover in a later topic, you need to set up your payment method. Just like when you're purchasing subscriptions or monthly billings with your application, whether in your Samsung or your iPhone, it usually prompts you to put in your credit card before you can start your subscription. It's the same process with here in BGL. So in order to activate your search registry tool to purchase business profile from Accra, you will need to add in the payment details first. Lastly, your trainings. So this is where we will post your trainings. So if you have new team members joining in or if they've missed out, very important is for them to log into my BGL, select training, go to new registration, and select other training. So click web, click continue. In here, if you haven't registered for the sessions, you can simply select, or if you've missed out some of, let's say, your level 2, you can simply just select which date that you want and then click continue. So you automatically received a email notifications to notify you of your registration, and you'll also receive a Zoom link for the webinar session. So for those of you, just since I'm on this particular topic, if you have not registered for the level 2 sessions, do register as soon as you can, as this will be my last training for the year. It will be in November. So this is how we register or manage. So my BGL is essentially just your administrator for portal for all our BGL clients. Very important that you remember your MyBGL username and password, as this is also your username and password to log into your CAS 360 software. All right. Now so let's say I accidentally closed my CAS 360. Now the easiest way to go back to your software is to simply again go back to your navigation tool and select CAS 360. Now, a very quick tip as well with navigating the software and your MyBGL is that if your page does not show up CAS 360, if you don't see this icon over here, it means two things. Either your account owner has yet to invite you into the software, or you haven't accessed or you haven't set up your CAS 360, or you haven't accepted the invitation to confirm your access to CAS 360. So just take note of that. Now I'm just gonna go to my app switcher, select CAS 360, and this will bring me back to my software. Right. So before I move on, any questions so far within the app switcher and the MyBGL? All right, I hope this is a little bit clear, as MyBGL is very important, especially if you want to know your license expiry, your billing information, and so on. Now, going back to your the top right corner of your screen. So this section over here is what we call Resource Hub. So Resource Hub will allow you to access to available learning resources and also help guide and support with our different tools over here, whether it's logging a support ticket getting in touch with our live support chats, sending feedback to our product team. So this is what I always highly recommend to do if there are features that you cannot locate, find, or you want some more improvement with the software. You can put your feedback over here. This is sent directly to our product team. Or useful help guide to get you started. This is where you can find our Singapore helps. For those of you who might experience, if you have any queries, some of our support will send you the help guide as we document all the how-tos inside your Singapore help guide. And also community. It's a bit of like a forum format, which will teach, which allows you to discuss different topics about the software. Now, the first thing I want to focus your attention will be this icon over here. This is what we call the help. Now, the help guide is a very useful function, especially when you are getting started with the software. We've categorized this on based on getting started, and also we've also segregated the information and contact on jurisdiction specific. Now, before I select that, something also that I want to highlight is what we call new features note. Now, when you've logged in, you might notice that when you recently log in onto CAS 360, you will get a pop-up screen that says there's a software update. Every time you run a software update, we will also release the notes that has been to share to all our users what are the features that has been added, improved, or any new features that has been added and developed. So you can simply click on new features over here, and as you can see, a lot of features that has been released out for the last couple of months. Every alternate Thursday, we run a software release. The last one is 9th of October, which was just probably like last week. The next software release will be next week, so do look out for that as well. If you've missed out the past software release, you can simply just click on that. It will share to you what were the latest released. So here, if you missed out the ones from the last months, you can just simply click on that. So I'm just going to select and see. So as you can see that not only that we will show display what are the core functions. So core means that this feature not only applies for a jurisdiction specific, but also this feature is available across all jurisdictions. And we do have a specific one, particularly to Singapore as well. So that's the new features notes. So I'm just going to close that in. Now, again, going back to my help guide, I can simply select Singapore help. This will bring me to my link called support.cas360.com.sg. Now I'm going to share this link again onto our webinar chat. So for those of you, if you like to bookmark this, you can just bookmark this for easy navigation. Or again, you can simply go to our help link and just select Singapore help. Now, the Singapore support guide link is a very good resource, especially when you are stuck with some features and process within the software. This will essentially provide you the how-tos in CAS 360, whether you're processing documents or you're starting with customizing your templates and you want to find out more what are the codes that you can insert within the templates, annual return filings, or how to process company changes. So if you're getting started, for example, I want to learn how to appoint an officer. Our support guide will give you an overview of what this particular tool represents and how to navigate. So an example, if I forgot how to prepare, or I want to know how to prepare my nominee director, which is a very common questions here in this article, it can be found under appointment of officers, and you can simply click on to that section, nominee director, for example. So the process is the same. It will basically show to you what are the documents that are prepared if you are preparing or appointing a nominee director as part of your appointment of officer process. So we do have a lot of features over here, whether it's also, let's say, registrable controllers. How do we process registrable controllers? And how do we view those documents as well? So this is a very useful one that's quite commonly asked. We also do your registered filing agent. So this is a very common question as well. Displaying your registered filing agent. So I'm going to share this as this is not in your level 1, but in case you encounter this inquiry or you've stuck that how do I display the address of my address for my controllers and nominee director in my annual returns, you can find these steps in this particular link. All right. So there's a lot of articles that you can explore when you're getting started. So you can simply search for that content and it will browse through your library of how-tos. All right. Now going back to my CAS 360, so that's for getting help and assistance tool. The next is, again, over here, I've just covered help us improve. So it's really useful and very important for us that you share your feedback. If there are any features that you hope that will be a bit of an improvement, you can send it through. This will get sent not only to our product team, but a lot of departments at the back end within the software. So they will review your feedback and see how it fits to the whole the product development of the software. Right, and I want to put your attention onto this particular icon over here, log a support. So whenever you encounter some issues, whether it's a software error that you keep getting when you're processing something within the software or the how-tos, you can simply select the telephone icon on the top right, call our support. And the step to go through with it is essentially you first need to type in the topic that you'd like to inquire. So for example, annual return. So the system will first recommend you an article related to your keyword search. But let's say you have, for example, error message. So if that keyword doesn't actually show, doesn't give you the articles or the list of articles is not giving you the answers based on your keyword, what we always recommend is in the section over here, you can see, you can simply click on log a support. Now, I always recommend users that when you're having some technical issues or errors, or you want to have a query, always have a screenshot of your errors or supporting document of your error and attach it to your support call. This is to help our developers and our support consultant to have a better, more context and understanding of the error you're facing. If you have, for example, the reference number of the error, simply just type in the reference number and give as much description as you can so that we have a better understanding of what error you're facing. You can select whether it's by telephone, email, and right over here is to give them consent whether you want the support consultant to have access to your CAS 360 account for further investigation. And essentially, you can select what type of problem statement that you are inquiring or need assistance to. And once you've done that, click send. Automatically, you will receive what we call a Zendesk ticket, right? Zendesk ticket will be sent to your email address or essentially your software's username with the Zendesk ticket number, and you can reach out and rather have the conversation with the support consultant through that Zendesk ticket email as well. So that's how we log a support call in the CAS 360. Now, alternatively, another option that you can use if you want to have a quick chats or get in touch quickly with our support, you can simply select our live chat. This will automatically bring you to our Cassie, our AI chatbot. And depending on the question, you can see that Cassie will recommend you articles or the how-tos. This is our AI generated tool. And if there are, if it's not answering your questions, for example, no, this article is not helping me, it will also recommend you if you want to transfer to a human or if you want to speak to human. So you can just simply talk to human and a live support chat consultant will be assigned to you to answer your query as well. Right, so that's for our resource hub. Now going back to here in the sections, I'm just gonna close this here. Now, any questions so far for the resource hub? All right, just gonna quickly. All right, so again, all your Q&A questions kindly post in your Q&A section of your toolbar if you have any questions. Now, going back to your this section of your CAS 360, you will see this particular icon over here. So this is what we call the notification system. The notification system allows you to receive communication from Accra API digital services and also other integrated partners like your digital signing through this notification system. And you can simply click on it to view what are the messages that has been sent across, whether it's a failed email that was sent to the client, or whether a document has been signed by all the signing partners. You can also see for digital signing, if you have already linked up your digital signing onto the software, you will also see who have signed those documents and whether it all has been completed, the signing of those documents, company registration is ready, and so on. If you want to clear these messages, you can just simply mark all as read, and you can see that this message has been cleared up. Now, in your notifications tool, as mentioned earlier, all these messages are linked to this section over here called messages. So you can see that it's very similar to what you just saw here in the notification page. Now, going back to your notification, we have this tab over here called Settings. Now, the setting allows you to subscribe for email notification coming from CAS 360 to your software. So you will know like what are the summary, what are the upcoming deadlines, and so on. So I'm just gonna quickly show to you in my email how it will look like. So this is an example, just gonna, hopefully you can see. This is an example of the email notification, right? So I got 32 notifications. You can see that I received a automated email from CAS 360 about any upcoming alerts, and I can simply log in through here. Now, how do I manage what I want to display in this notification? So going back to this alert under settings, you have the ability to toggle on and off which ones that you want to display in the list of your CAS 360 notification summary. You can enable, so here I've enabled annual review received, 14 days, document lodged, companies in this. So I've switched off all the companies, step, rejected, lodged, and so on. I've only switched on my annual returns, date has passed, financial year end, and so on. So that if I were to go to, for example, this is what it's going to display based on the settings that I had set over here. Now, once you've selected or switched on which items that you want to receive as a email subscription notification, you can select whether you want to receive it daily, fortnightly, or weekly. So in daily, you can select whether you want to receive it every day. Fortnightly will be essentially, weekly will be essentially which day of that week that you'll receive it. And fortnightly is basically every fortnight. So it won't be every week, it will just be alternate weeks. So if I were to say, let's say I want to receive Monday, Wednesday, Friday, or Monday, Wednesday, I can just select that. And because I've selected email weekly and every Monday, I will receive, or I can just simply select Wednesday. I can also set the time that I want to receive those email subscription notification. I will receive it every 10 a.m. of the time. Every Wednesday at 10 a.m., I will receive a notification from CAS 360 via email. So this timing will follow the local time. So you don't have to worry about whether it's a different time zone. It will automatically follow your time zone. And here you can select whether only favorite labels company, whole firm, or both. So I'll talk a little bit more about only favorite label companies or your label companies in just a while. All right. So this is how we navigate and also switch on the email subscription in CAS 360. And if you want to, let's say, reset, for example, I no longer want to receive this email. There's too many email reminders coming from CAS 360. I can simply switch off that button over here and click save. All right. Now, any question on this particular topic on the notification? right? So I had a query that come through just now. So if you have different staff handling different companies, are we able to assign them and only the assign can access? So you can assign companies using our labels, which I'm going to cover in a while. However, we don't have the second part where only that assigned company can see what companies assigned to them. So this is one of the big projects that our product team has been trying to develop to be able to um, assign specific companies to specific people, and that the setting is that only this particular person can only see which company that I've signed. So this is still in work in progress with about but definitely something that we are aware and looking into continue developing as well. Right. Any questions on any other questions? All right. Now, next question, next topic I want to go through is setting up your registered filing agent. All right. So before anything, again, if you are using the manual right now, I think that there's some few people who've just logged in. I'm just gonna reshare one more time the manual as well for those of you who have just logged in or missed the beginning part. I've sent the link of today's manual, this manual over here, into the webinar chat, so you can also refer to that manual as we go along with the training today. So we're in this section over here, just a very quick one. When you're going through the training manual, you can also click in the link. It's still easy way to navigate into your manual as well. So now I'm going to cover on this topic, setting up registered filing agent. Now, when you're managing companies, it's very important to always assign um, a filing agent, right? So to know whether you've assigned a filing agent for that company, you can simply click onto the company, go under general details, and see if there is a company, or rather a filing agent assigned for that company. So give another example. Maybe I have some example over here. So you can see that I have a registered filing agent assigned for this company. Now, in the CAS 360, the registered filing agent for Singapore refers to your company's corpus, right? So when you are doing a lodgement process for your clients, you will need to present your CorpSec's, your corporate secretary's corpus information instead of the RFA itself, the name of the RFA. The reason being is because CAS ACRA needs to know which service provider is lodging those information from through a third party. Okay, that's one. And also, if you are purchasing business profile from ACRA, they need to know who is purchasing, which CorpSec provider using a third party like Cash 360 is purchasing those business profile. Right. So it's very important. Also, this is even if right now you might have noticed that our lodgement tool has not been released out yet, which is it will be a new one with Accra. This is particularly useful as they will need people, or they will need to know who are the service provider using a third party software to lodge all the information onto Accra's website using a software, right? So that's that. Now, how do we set up the filing agent? So when you're first starting, you will notice that you won't be able to see your corpus information here. So you need to set up this information within the software. To set up your filing agent, simply go to your settings, select Add Agent. Here, automatically, it will select Singapore jurisdictions. You have your agent name or filing. For Singapore, you will need to add in your corpus. So if it's a Gen company services, right? This is the name. Let's say this is the name of my corporate services. And if this information is not in your global contacts, you can simply click on can't find, add it in this information. Now, because this is a the information of your services, your corporate secretarial, you will need to select this as company. So you can simply add in Singapore, the email address, the mobile incorporation, number type, if it's a UN. So essentially for corpus holders, it has to be UN number. Your registered office address. This is particularly important as well, especially if you want to disclose in the annual return that the location of your nominee shareholders, nominee directors, and registrable controller is located at the address of the registered filing agent. So let's say I'll put in Chai Chi. I'm just going to select any address I've already created and click Save. So this will be saved into that. Again, add in your address and click Save and Only. So at the moment, if you save and authenticate, what you'll notice you get a error message. I think right now it's getting error message. It's because this is an old, I'm using a old access to Across API Mall, which is already closed. But in the future, this will be a step for you to authenticate, to authorize as well. So you can just add that into your filing to your lodgement in agent settings found under the settings tool. Now, once you've added that, when you are adding a company or managing the information in the company, you can simply assign your corpus. So for my case, I just created Jennifer Company Private Limited and click Save. Now, this is particularly important because when you reach or when you need to prepare the annual returns, it will display a automated text from the CAS 360, a default declaration form to inform that the location of the registers is at the office address or registered filing agent's office address. So always take note and do make sure on that. Now, something I need to highlight as well when you are setting up registered filing agents, as you know that you need to make sure that whoever's SingPass is assigned to a digital service must have a authorization to access API Mall, BizFile, BizFile Plus, and so on. If your SingPass is not able to do the lodgement or purchase business profile, even if you put the corpus and you use your SingPass attached to your company's corpus, this means that the setting has not been assigned to that SingPass. So please make sure to let your corpus administrator know to give your SingPass access rights to log in and have integration or allow rights to access to Accra's digital services using the corpus. So that's it. So This instruction, you can find it on level 26 onwards of the manual if you didn't manage to catch what I've mentioned earlier as well. But this step is very important, especially if when you're preparing the location of the registrable controllers and nominee directors declaration onto your annual returns. So I have a question over here. Must BGL be the registered filing agent? So ACRA filing can be done via CAS 360. So we're not necessarily be the BGL per se. I would say the registered filing that you have to add here is your corpus. Okay. So if let's say you have when you're logging into corpus to lodge company change, for example, you need to use your service provider or your company's corpus to lodge those information. So similarly, you have to add in the corpus detail instead, not BGL, if that makes sense. All right. Right. Any questions so far for this lodgement process? So I'm gonna skip a bit of those details in the lodgements as because due to the lodgement part of our software, it's currently disabled as ACRA, as you know, have closed the digital's the lodgement or what we call transactional with them, and hopefully we can reinstate it back. Hopefully we get some answers from Accra on this side, as this is more on Accra giving us, giving us again integration with them in terms of lodgement. Now, next topic that I want to cover in this lesson number 1 is inviting other users. Now, inviting other users is very, very important, especially when the software requires multiple access across different members in the team, right? And this is the first thing that you'll need to do when you get started to the software. To invite other users, or if you have new team members joining the team, you can simply go to the app switcher and select users. So as the user, you can see your profile. And this section over here, something I want to to also highlight as well. So when you first started the software and click on the Welcome to My BGL, it will prompt you to set up your multi-factor authentication, right? So you have a choice whether you want to use your authentication app or SMS. For us, we always recommend users to use a authentication app. So authentication app, you can just simply go over here, Singapore Help. So we also have articles over here. It will show to you what kind of authentication app that you can use and frequently asked questions. So I'm going to share this article onto the webinar chat as well. This is for you when you have circumstances like resetting the password, or let's say you didn't receive the notification via text, or in some cases when you lost your devices and you've selected your MFA as SMS. How do you fix that as well? This is, to me, really, again, very important article, especially it has to do with security. Now, we always recommend, as mentioned, authentication app is recommended because firstly, it's much more secure than SMS. SMS, the only issue with SMS is that for security reason, some might have already got your number for some reason, or some scams might have already got your number, and you don't really want to risk that having them accessing to your to the code, especially logging into the software, right? Now, going back to here, so you'll be able to see different tools on the left-hand side. Now, as an account owner, the administrator of the software, you have the rights to invite other users. To invite other users, simply go to Admin Invitation, and you'll be able to select and show, it will display to you how you can invite other users. So I think right now my net is not loading at the moment. I'm gonna refresh this again. So again, invite other users. I'll go back one more time. So I think it's not loading. Okay, so I'm having a bit of application problem. I think they're doing some tests at the back, but essentially I'm just gonna go to my manual so you can see over here. So this can be found in your invite users. So when you go to users, in the section we go invitation. Now in the page, you will see this button over here called invite users. As you invite, you will need to add in the email address, first name, last name of the user, and most importantly, this section over here called My BGL and CAS 360. So this one is not available for Singapore. So what you will see is just My BGL and CAS 360. So I hope you can see. Now, this thing is very important because this is to allow you to choose the role settings to assign for that user that you're inviting. So for my BGL, you have different types of role, whether it's a user role, view only, managers, and so on. Similarly to CAS 360. So in CAS 360, you have different types of role settings that you can assigned to our users. Now, as an account owner, you have the ability to manage the type of access right for each user role. Okay, so going back to my CAS 360, so I'm just again gonna go back right here. I think I'm still having some issues. Yeah, you can see right over here, invite users. This is particularly important. If you missed out selecting or selecting the type of role type for that users, the role might not be able to access BGL, but can access to CAS 360 or vice versa. So a very common thing that happens is that the users has been invited to my BGL, but they cannot access the software because one of the reasons is because no role settings or role type has been assigned to that user. So this is very important. Now, once you've invited, you can add in multiple users at the same time and click invite. So in the invitations over here, you can also see whether you've canceled the invitation and some of the inspired as well. I think I'm gonna just see if I have some more. All right. So generally we will have more list over here. It will show to you the list of who were invited, who has joined or accepted your invitation, and whether who are the ones that their invitation already expired. So the invitation for access and set up your My BGL and CAS 360 will last for 5 days. If the user has not accepted the invitation within 5 days, that email link will expire. So take note take note on this. If you're going to send invitation to set up their MyBGL access and log into CAS 360, they will need to set it up immediately. Otherwise, you will have to resend again. So that's for setting up your invitation. Now, unfortunately, I don't have my re-invite tool over here. So I'm just gonna quickly show to you the article as well. So whenever the invitation expires in 5 days and the user did not set it up, you can always click on re-invite. This would then they will receive another invitation to set up your access to MyBGL and CAS 360. Now, in your users page as well, you have the ability to manage the role settings, particularly for the account owners. So here I'm just going to go to my admin section again and select role settings. So you can see that you have different types of role things that you can navigate depending on the role settings you have. So for example, in my accountant, I have selected the items toggle on. This switched on toggle means that this user have access rights to do these items. And those that are toggle off, it means that this particular user type will not have access to this feature or this process as well. So we have quite a number of, you can see over here, I have different types of role settings. So again, I'm just gonna go back to, again, my Singapore help. So by default, we have different types of user roles. So each of the, by default in CAS 360, we have the accountant, admin, BGL success, support manager, user, and so on. So I'm going to share this again into your webinar chat. This is to help you as an account owner to know what exactly each of these user role type. But again, as mentioned, these types over here listed, these are just default set in CAS 360. Within the software itself, you have the ability to change or to add in new rules. So for example, over here, you've noticed that I've got what we call Team A and Team D. So I had one use case where my clients, they had multiple teams within the company, and each team will have different set of role settings. So example, Team A, you can see that this is their role settings. You can only access all the items that in green, but the rest, like for example, any modification or preparation on documents, they are not able to do that. And I've got my Team B, prepare the registration. They can add, edit company details and so on. Team C, they have more admin rights to access to the software. So you can really create your own user type. Simply type in your new users, let's say Team Gen, and then select the type of role access rights that they have under these role settings. Similarly, you can also do that for my BGL. So this part is very important as well because it helps you to know which kind of applications that you are doing or creating roles types for. Earlier is for the CAS 360 software itself. And my BGL, you have the ability to enable or disable all. So for admin, by default, if I were to switch off, you can see that role admin cannot be edited. That means that the admin person have full rights for all, both my BGL and CAS 360. So if you want to have another admin person, let's say admin number 2, let's say admin went to manager, you can assign this as well, but if you want to limit that manager to other items, like for example, um, delete the debit card details, you can switch off that, and everything else this admin manager can do, and click save. So you can see that in my application CAS, my BGL, I have now additional role called admin manager. So that's how we set up your role settings in CAS 360. Now, before we go to level CAS 360 lesson number 2, so another thing that I want to mention, which is not into the manual, but also particularly important, especially if you're admin users and you have staff member who already left the company, for example. So we have under admin called user management. The user management allows you to have an overview of what each of the user has access to. So for this case, you can see that I'm the account owner for the software and my BGL platform, my BGL portal. And I can see that Amy is a admin for CAS 360. It has a user-only settings under my BGL. Now, if you have, for example, a company, let's say over here, this particular contact here has left the firm, right? What you can do is either turn off the MFA. So a few things, you can remove the user, or if let's say this user is on a long leave and you don't want it to access during those long leaves, you can simply turn off the MFA or change the settings. So here we have the ability to change the role settings as well of that particular user. If you want to remove the user, this is a very good practice, particularly if the user has left the firm, you can simply remove. So this is a good practice when you're managing user role settings and user access onto CAS 360 software and my BGL portal. All right, so any question into your user role settings before I move on? All right, so I have a question over here I've tried. So if you are having issues with registered filing agent, kindly drop me an email or log into the support. Please send it through to our ticket so they can further investigate on your issue, on why you're also having some issues with the filing agent. All right. So next topic will be lesson number 2, loading companies in CAS 360. So these content can be found in your manual on your page 33 of your manual. So again, I'm gonna go back, I'll close these here so that, and I'll go use my app switcher and select CAS 360. Now, in CAS 360, there are 3 different ways to uh, onboard your company's data. It also depends on the scenario. One option is to manually add the company. So here you can select add company, select add a company, and you can just type in the company name, and click save. Once you have saved this company's basic information, it will show you and display the company name. So I'll do one test, for example, right over here. Test Singapore, October. Filing agent. So you can see that even in this process, they will prompt you to assign. If you want to assign it to a particular person or team member, you can add in a company name. Otherwise, you can just leave it separately. And you can see that this is the company we've just added in. So once I click on that, it will show and display to me what I've just entered earlier on, including the status. And if you need to change the status to, let's say, private non-exempt, you can do that. And there's no information over here. It was just very basic. So this is the manual version of adding in or onboarding companies data. You will need to add them manually. So an example, adding in registered office address, and you can see the process right over here. So this is the manual way. So you'll need to go through all this information. You can see automatically it prepares company change address. Otherwise, you can just cancel that part as well. So you will have to go through each of the tab to add in onboard information for the company. Now, another option is when you are onboarding a new client who wants to do company registration with you. Okay, so one of which we have under your company, you will see this, what we call company registration tab. Select onto this tab. If you're first started, if you haven't used these features, you will see this list will be empty. As you can see in my list, I have multiple companies who came to me to engage my services to help, and I provided them the company registration process services. So to do the company registration, simply click on company registration button and select the jurisdiction. Click continue, and this will bring you to this whole journey of company registrations. So we're going to do the process of setting up a company registration details from scratch. So here I'll just use today's date, October training company. I can select the company type, limited by shares, financial year end. I will just put my financial year end probably in end of the year. Let's say accountant. And you can add in the descriptions as well, CorpSec service. If you have another secondary activity, let's say IT, ID, you can add in as well. So with the CAS 360, it populates not just your activity code, but the SSIC code that you've selected. And if you have any additional information, supporting information for that activity, you can just add that in other description. Now you can simply save, close, and continue later. Otherwise, you can see over here, it will display in the information. If you want to continue adding in those information, the company registration information, you can simply go to option and click edit. This will bring you back to your company registration journey. So on the left-hand side, you can see these are the items that are missing. So you'll need to fill up all this missing information. So let's say I will put in a lavender. And if you don't have a new, for example, this address is new, let's say Changi, another Changi Road, for example, and you can't find a particular address, again, you can simply create that address on the spot by clicking Add New Address. And here, you can type in the address, the street name. So what you'll notice is that in the street name and building name, it is linked to what we call the powered by Google address. So if you were to type in an address, let's say Changi Business Park, you can see that you have different, it will automatically pull out Changi Business Park, the block number, and you'll fill up this information over here. Now, something I want to highlight with this tool when you're setting up. When you type in and select from Google address, it will not automatically select or type in the building. For whatever reason, we're not really sure why Google is not able to provide us the building name automatically, but you will still provide the street name. So what you can do is that if this scenario happens, what you can do is Tong building. And instead of selecting the Tong building, you can simply put your mouse and click. This way it will become a free text. It's not a data coming from Google address. It's just a free text. So here I will just put in my details. You can see town in Singapore. This is particularly important to fill up the word Singapore when you're setting up a Singapore address. So you notice, why do we need to do that when it's already over here? It's because that for Singapore, it's a city-state. It will need to show Singapore, and the way it will display onto the software, it will be Singapore postal code. Unlike other jurisdiction, in other jurisdictions, generally your postal code will come first, followed by the country. All right. So for Singapore, you need to make sure to put in the word Singapore and postal code so that when you display the address in your resolutions and document, it will display a Singapore format address. All right. So now that I've set up this address, click Save. Can click over that. I'll fill up the rest of the missing information here. I will add in a new person. So again, it's the similar, if you already have that particular contact stored in CAS 360, you can simply save that and select that. This is particularly common if your information as a CorpSec provider is already within a CAS 360. You don't have to manually add them in. Here, I'll select in as a director. Click Save. And again, I'm going to select another officer. So I'm going to select myself. Let's assume I am the secretary and click Save. So again, I can just click on Next to proceed to another field. Here, I'll just add in my shareholder. Ordinary shares. So we follow the standard practice of ACRA. And if you don't have any subclass, you can just leave that in. Most importantly, you need to select the currency, the number of shares. I'm just going to put in 100 first, automatically shares certificate. If you have a issued capital, you can just add in the figure. But if you do not have any issued share capital, you still need to put in a number. So for this case, you must make sure to put in 0 so that it will allow you to save this record. What's going to happen is that if you don't put in the 0, what will prompt you, the system will prompt you to please issue the share capital. So you can simply put in 0 even if you don't have any issued share capital. I've got my auditor if this company requires an auditor, and you have your constitution. So by default, depending on the company type that you have set up for this company, it will recommend you a model constitution. Otherwise, if you have a customized constitution, you can simply upload your constitution document over here, and this will be part of your process. So just select the molded constitution. You've got your registrable controller. So will the company required? Yes. So you can just simply click add in. So you need to add in the registrable controllers. Let's say I'll put in James Chan. Again, if you have another person, similar process, again, Chris, for example, I don't have this name, you can simply add it on the spot. So when you're setting up a contact details as well, you must make sure that you indicate the nationality, ID type. This is particular use, very important. They disclose what ID type that they're using to register for this company and ID number. And lastly, your passport details. If it's a, for example, we have a permanent resident, right? You can just select permanent resident. If it's a passport employment pass, you can add in employment pass. Otherwise, if you don't have any ID, or for example, you can simply add in passport details instead. So this is for your like foreign directors, foreign shareholders, you can add in the passport. As long as they have a identification over here, you can just add that in. So I'm not gonna create that. I'll just select somebody that I've already set up and click save. So by the end of the whole registration journey, you can see the summary of what you have inputted into CAS 360's company registration. This is to give you one last time to have a look if there's any correct, incorrect, or let's say you've selected the wrong David Lim, it has a different credentials. You can simply just go over and reselect another one. So this is to give you an overview what you have had. And once you have added all this information, you are now ready to prepare the documents. So by clicking saved, this will automatically prompt the system to prepare the company registration pre-incorporation documents. So to give you a bit of a summary, overview, rather an overview of document production. Now, document production is where you will locate or find all the documents that you prepare based on the company change that you have selected or created. For this scenario, we are doing a incorporation of a company. We've done the company registration, so we will need to prepare the pre-incorporation documents. In every document production, it will display to you the summary of the action that you're doing. For this case, we're incorporating a company with the name 14 October Training. And these are the company documents required for incorporating this company. So I've got my consent to act as a director. So here you can automatically see your company name and the details. So what you also notice is that there's no UN number. It's because we still haven't got the registration date. So similarly for Form 45, Constitution. So this is the system default constitution. If you have attached your own constitution, it will appear as it is. Application of shares and notice for controller for Veronica Tan. So once you're okay with this, you can now export this document by simply clicking the download all button. So clicking the download all will export all those documents in one single PDF. So I've got my company. You can see that I have my company registration summary to check whether all these details are true correct. And this information will be then reflected to your forms. Now, because these are documents prepared and it has been signed, so it's just going to be as it is. Now, if you recall earlier that I mentioned on the summary of the navigation toolbar, the global documents will prepare a file to store those documents that you've just exported. So for this case, the company that we have just set up earlier on, our 14 October company, you can see is awaiting registration. All right. You can see that awaiting registration. Now, because we've exported a document for this company, automatically it will be stored in your global documents right over here. So you can, if you need to, let's say, re-prepare those documents or re-download those documents, you can simply go to Global Documents, Options, and select Attachment. This will help you download those documents again. Now I have a question on how do we upload a signed document? Now you can simply, depending on the document type, I will go through that a little bit later, but if we're talking about signed document for a company registration, we have a section that allows you to store that. So let's go back to this same company. Now it's waiting registration. And once you've already signed, the client signed those documents, you can simply click on Post Incorporation Document, type in the UEN number, let's say 101, and any signed document for the pre-incorporation, you can simply attach it over here. And let's assume it has been incorporated today and click Proceed. By selecting that, will automatically prepare your document in, again, document production, incorporating document, and this time around, it's preparing a post-incorporation documents. So you can see that you have your first director minutes and resolutions with your now UEN and so on, your registrable controller registers, share certificate for allotment of shares. And what you'll notice is that there is a missing resolution over here, which is essentially your opening of bank account. So depending on the scenario, I'll have, you will prepare the opening bank account. Now, again, you can simply download, and the whole process is quite similar. If I were to download this document, I'm just going to put in a meeting address. Once I download these documents, again, these documents will be saved in your global documents under a file with a trace number file. This is the document we just exported. And you can see that when I go back to my documents, the post-incorporation documents has been exported. A folder has been created. This is the trace number. And then I can just simply click attachment to view what I have exported. All right. So going back to your company registration, so you can see that the company status has now changed to registered company. Now, again, we have a couple of filters on the left-hand side, and you'll be able to see which companies that have been prepared by me, companies that have been registered, and companies that have yet to be registered. So you can see right over here, there are still companies pending for registration. These companies that are awaiting registrations will not take up your license slot of your software. So for example, and how do I know these is that if I were to go to my company tab and I click XYZ, it's not in my company selection list. Companies that are not saved in your company selection does not take up the license slot, even if you prepared the pre-incorporation. The only time that this company will take up the license slot is when the company has been officially a registered company. So how do we know? Again, if I were to go to type 14 October, 14 October company has now appeared in my company selection list and now saved in my license slot. So you can see these are the informations that you have just added in. It's all recorded. Now, going back to my company registration, so what you've noticed is that in the post-incorporation documents, if it's something that you've noticed, is that it's missing your opening bank account. So how do we go about and adding the opening of bank account? So once you've already add in the company and register the company, you can simply go to company selection, locate the company, and select relationships. Under relationship, this will allow you to add in your auditors, your data protection officer, liquidators, and so on, and including bank account. So if I have already a bank account information details, I can simply add that in. I can just put in 14 October training corporate, for example. Currency, you can type in your branch number and account number. Oops. So you'll see this information, you've already recorded the bank account information. So if I were to go back to my company tab and select company registration, you can see right over here, the moment I click on post incorporation documents, you'll now be able to see a register bank account opening minutes and resolution. So this is how we add in the opening of bank account data to prepare a resolution for your post-incorporation documents. So any questions so far? So I might have already answered the one, how do we upload signed documents? Again, you can simply go to the documents, locate that folder, and select the option, attachments, and any documents that you have. So for example, if I were to have any, let's say over here, this is just a sample. You will see this is my attached document, and then click save and just click close. And you can just change the status into document signed, for example. So hope that answers the questions. So for the KYC documents, I'm not going to cover this in this topic level 1. I will cover this. I won't also cover this topic on the session because we don't have enough time on it. But I'll just give you a bit of an idea where we can store the KYC. KYC documents, you can add it in each contact level. So for example, if I were to type in David Lim, and each of the contact, you have what we call compliance, right? So here you can see that this passport detail is already expired, so you need to add it in. And if you have any supporting documents, you can attach the supporting KYC documents into the contact level. So why we do it particular, not just the shareholding officer, because this contact, usually the KYC, we are checking based on that individual, not particularly just that shareholder of that company, but specifically on a contact. This contact may be a shareholder to multiple companies or officers to multiple companies as well. So the best way is to always go to the contact level, locate that particular person, and attach the supporting documents. All right, so any questions so far for company registration? All right, now the third way to import or manage or onboard your client's information is what we call importing company data from Accra using your search registry. So here, again, this can be found in your company tab, the third tab in your company tab, search registry. And here it will show you your recent searches for that month. And if you have any historical searches, it will also display all the historical searches that you have done since your subscription. So I'm just going to try over here. So I might not be able to locate it. Yep, so I'll just put it like that first. So you can see these are the list of companies that I have imported, for example. So this is because my account right now is a test account. It's not an actual live account, so you won't be able to see. But essentially, if I were, let's say I would do this company over here, I'm just going to deactivate. So I'm just going to quickly deactivate this company. So essentially, when so this is how we deactivate a company. You can just deactivate it like that, and it will come to my deactivated list. So I'll talk a bit more about this later on. So just go back to my research registry. All right. So in CAS 360, even if we don't have the lodgement transaction with Akka right now, what we have is the API integration with Accra via the business profile. So you can purchase business profile directly from Akka using your search registry. So this is what we have connectivity with Accra at the moment. So to purchase business profile, click on search registry, select Singapore, and this will automatically show a pop-up message to notify you that this service is a paid service. So in order for you to use this, you need to know that each of the extract costs $10, and you'll need to set up your payment method. Now, if you don't have any payment methods, it will not allow you to click continue. So what you'll need to do is follow the instruction on how to set up your payment method. You will need to go to your My BGL billing. If you recall, there is a payment method, payment details in that section. Kindly always go to your My BGL to set up your automated credit card or debit card details. Now, because this whole integration process is seamless and it's from Accra, you will need a card that allows Accra to have a charge for. It will not allow you to use this feature unless there's a credit card or a debit card added in. Just like any other application or software that you used, in order for you to use the premium features of a product, you will need to add in credit card first as a guarantee. So I'll share this article as well in a webinar chat. Have a look at this so that you can get started onboarding your clients using your search registry as well. Do take note, however, also that when you add in your payment method and you do your purchase, there is a surcharge for it. These charges is not charged by BGL, but the payment gateway, which is the Stripe. So Stripe is the one that has a payment gateway together with BGL and with Accra as well. All right, now going back to here, because my account is not a live account. In CAS 360, you have the ability to search based on the UN or by name. I have to say, see something. Rainbow. So what it does is that it will search your list. It will search Accra's list if they have any record of company with these keywords, and you have the ability to select. Let's say I want to extract rainbow cake snack, and then maybe I'll add in green. So it's reading through the database of Accra if they have this record of the company, and you can have as many extract as you want. Once you can see that I have two extracts, so to confirm, you can simply click on confirm, and this will extract. Now, I'm not going to click this confirm as it might charge the card of Ronlesh, so we won't go into here, but essentially once you confirm, it will import the companies. So what will happen is that the moment you have important, it will display something like this. So you'll display something like this. It will show to you when it was extracted, by who, at what time. So now you will see that there are this action over here, imported and extract. So what is the difference? Now, the difference between that is that extract is essentially you just purchase the business data, but you haven't imported it into your software license yet. So scenarios, for example, that you simply just want to buy the business profile of the company, but they're not exactly your client yet. You just want to know the business profile. This is a good option for you to purchase the business profile without having to key in manually the information should they become your client. Now, on the other hand, this is an example of a import. So the user has purchased the business profile using the search registry and also imported the data of this company onto my license. So if I were to type in Clover, you can see that Clover's information is right over here. I've imported. Now, a very quick tip as well. If the company is in your company selection, it means that it's taking up your license slot, right? So just take note of that. So whereas if I were to type it, I think it's Little Sunshine, you can see it's not in my list, but it's in my search registers. So in your option, you have two things that you will see. One is download the extract and import. So download extract allows you to export the PDF version of the company business profile. So quite similar to Accra, it's just that the format is the Singapore our CAS 360 format. It's not the format of Accra. This is something that we've been trying to discuss with Accra if they can provide us the format. However, it's not something they provide at this stage. So we have created our own format of report PDF format of that. Now, otherwise, so you can see I haven't imported yet. If this company has already signed the agreement that we will be their service provider, they're engaging a service, I can now just simply click import and it will import into the system. So I'll do an example over here. I'll do import. So this is an example of re-importing a company. So you have this notification that would you like to overwrite the cash purchase from Accra, which means that any changes that you have done manually for this company will be overwrite from the company that you have just you've purchased. So if you're happy with that, this is usually a scenario where if there are quite a number of mistakes that happened into this company and you no longer know whether it's accurate or not, you can just simply overwrite. So here I'll just overwrite and click confirm. Now, you can see I have a notification over here that says Rainbow Bridge Holding has now successfully been imported. Now, going back to the section search registry, it's gonna put in that when you want to re-import, you can re-import the same data information as many times as you want without charges. However, the only charges that CAS 316 Accra charge is when you go through the whole process one more time, this process over here, to purchase the same business profile. This is the chargeable part. So extract is chargeable, but re-importing the same data that you've just historically purchased, will not be chargeable. So that's how we do a company import in CAS 360. Now, something I want to just to cover because we might have missed out earlier on. Um, it's not also in your manual, but it's very common questions. And I think this is something very useful on a beginner level. Is that when you want to deactivate a company, you can simply deactivate them by going to company selection and selecting them as deactivate. It will prompt you if this company is part of your subscription or not. So click deactivate. So you can see it used to be, we have a deactivate companies of 57. Now I have 58. And to view all the deactivated companies, you can simply click deactivate companies. This will show you the list of companies that you have deactivated, when it was deactivated, and whether they're part of your subscription license. So if you have deactivated this company within your current subscription, within your current 12 months right now, it will still count in your current subscription. So it will not release the slot. After which, once you've reached your expired date and you've decided to renew your CAS 360 license for your next year, for your next subscription, 12-month subscription, it will automatically refresh the counter, remove those deactivated companies from your slots to release those slots for your next 12 months. So you can use those slots that has been taken up by deactivated companies for your new clients onboarding only for the next 12 months or when you renew it. For more information on that, you can simply go to your help guide. This is to help you give a bit of idea how we count your subscription license, especially when you're deactivating companies during a subscription period. All right, so going back to this section over here, hope this much more clear. Another thing that I want to also cover is this section. So might not be able to cover it in level section 1, which is the labels, as we have quite a number of topic here. It's not really covered, but I'm just gonna cover quickly on this, particularly if you are assigning these companies to move to other users. Now, come over here, or we'll just over here. Now, when you're adding in a new company, so for example, over here, I've got my October. If you want to assign this company to a particular person or a particular team, you can simply add the label. So here I've already added the label. I can simply put it in company team A, and maybe I'll put it to Jennifer P. So on the left-hand side of your dashboard under company, you will see this section over here called labels. If you want to filter companies under that label, you can simply click on that label. This will filter down the companies under CorpSec Team A, for example. Similarly, if you have, let's say, I only want to see Annabelle to display in my dashboard, it will show to me Annabelle. Now, if you want these companies to display every time you log in to the software, you can click on the star icon. This is for the system to remember that this particular label is the favorite label. And therefore, whenever the user log in, any companies that is assigned or tagged as Annabelle will automatically display every time this user logs in to CAS 360. So he doesn't need to filter filter down, click search, and so on. Now, another thing to also take note is managing labels. A good example, again, is Annabelle. You can manage or transfer the companies from one label to another label. What I mean by that, so let's say I have Annabelle over here, and Annabelle is leaving the firm. So what I can do is that I can simply edit the label name. And rename it to Christine. So whoever is the new person taking over the companies handled by Annabelle will now be labeled as Christine. So this is how we manage the labels. So again, for now, this is the only way that we can assign a company to a specific staff. However, CAS-360, we still have the tool itself, the software itself has not reached that level where you can control who can only see these companies and what companies that they cannot see. So at the moment, everybody can see it. But in terms of if you as a user, you don't want to see the list of companies, you just want to see any companies under your label, you can simply select a star. Right. So any questions on the label? Otherwise, I will jump to the next topic called company addresses. All right. So these contact, your lesson number 3, if you're in the manual right now, can be found on the page 56 of the manual onwards. And on the lesson number 2, we're going to cover on the topic of how to navigate your registered office address, location of the register kept, and also managing your contacts and address. If let's say you need to edit the contact information or address, or you made a mistake and you need to modify. So first, the registered office address. So we're going to select the company that we've just set up. So to quickly search, you can use our search. Again, within October, you can use this search engine, or if you want the global search, you can do that and click on the profile. So here, I've already got my registered office address. It's in the Tong building. And to change the registered office address, you can simply click on New Address and select Registered Office Address. So here I will locate maybe 5 Changi Road. I've already created that address. If again, just a refresher, if you need to add in a new address, you can simply click as Add New. You can also apply the same address to your business, postal, and meeting. And if the location of the register kept is in the same location, you can apply that as well. So automatically the system will record that address that you have selected. You can see that not only it's in the registered office address, but also in the rest of the address. As the system noticed and recognizes that you're doing a change of office address, so automatically CAS-360 will generate this button over here called Prepare Forms. The system is smart enough to recognize that you have done a company change, and therefore documents needs to be prepared for this change. So here I'll click prepare forms. Again, it will bring me back to my document production. And this time around in my summary on the left, it will show to me that I am changing the address to 5 Changi Business Park. Here it will have your company change summary and your director minutes and resolutions. So here, this is an example of a customized template, which I will go through this one on Thursday, part of my level 2 session. Essentially, it displays my customized template and also the change of address to Changi. Now, to confirm this company change, simply click on download. By clicking download or sending it direct to my clients, I am telling the software that I have applied this official change to the company. So now you can see that I have changed to 5 Business Park. And again, if you remember, this document has been exported and therefore automatically CAS 360 creates a folder with the document of address change. And if you have any signed document, you can just simply upload it there. So that's the change of the address. Now, going back to the same company, we're going to go to the address tab. And similarly, if we need to change the location of the address. So let's assume that the location of the register is not in the same address as the registered office address. Simply click on Add a new address and select location of register CAP. So I'm going to assume that it's in Orchard, it's still in Orchard. And you can select whether to apply which registers are kept in Orchard. So let's assume all the registers are kept there. And I'm just going to skip this location of registrable controller. This because that I would assume that this location is kept at my service provider's office address. And you can see right now that the address has now been switched to Orchard. Now, next that I want to go through is your contacts and addresses. So these content can be found on the page 63 of your manual. Now, in your navigation bar, we're going to select this third icon over here called Contacts. Again, as I mentioned earlier in the beginning, the global contacts allows you to store and manage your global contacts and addresses across your companies. So we have categorized it based on an individual, which is a person, a company. This is particularly useful whether it's a shareholder or if you're opening a bank account, for example, or if you're appointing a auditor, but it's based on a company name instead of a person's name, or joint member as well. So here I'll see that I'm gonna have the list, and on my contacts page, you will also see different filters. So here it will show to me what are the companies that are not in use. Means that these 7 contacts are not attached to any company. All right. So this will help you to identify any duplicates, or if this contact is not in use and therefore you can just delete, for example. We also have this feature called find matches. So it's very common in your global contacts that will have some duplicate contacts, right? It can have the same name, same surname, and so on. And what you see is that match by, it will have different filters as well, including whether to filter or match based on only full name only, full name and surname, or full name and address. So with full name only, um, full name and surname only, you can see that some may be a duplicate, while some may be a different. Like they have different address. This is very useful to see if, firstly, the contact may be the same name, but different credentials. What I mean by that, first way to see is that this person may have different address, or credentials to use to set up multiple companies. So you have to be extra careful on this when you are selecting based on first name, full name. If you can see, if you feel that this is still the same person, you can select which one to keep. However, if this may be the same person but using different address, maybe they have multiple properties or multiple password, whatever reasons, just bear in mind that it's not recommended to merge them together. Okay, otherwise it will affect the companies that is this information. If it's assigned to multiple companies using this credential, it will affect those companies. So just take on that. Now, what I usually suggest if you really want to see whether this company is matched, they have the exact credentials, is search and matching them based on the full name and address. If they have the similar information, it's a duplicate. First, what you need to do is check how many companies or what is his relationship to multiple data in CAS 360, whether he maybe is an office holding, you can see, and a representative of something. Whereas the other one is a shareholding to CAS 360. If you were based on your judgment, you can select if you think that this is the correct person, it has much more complete information. You want to remove this one, you can simply click keep, and it will consolidate this data information into one. So this is how we do a cleanup with contacts. Now, going back to your contacts, so you can see these are all the list of contacts. So there are scenarios where you need to either amend the information of the contact, whether it's updating the passport details or changing the surname or the mobile number and so on. So to do that, so I'm going to do an example, David Lim over here. You can simply click on option edit or simply click the text in blue. So anything that is in blue, text in CAS 360, can either be previewed or edited. So an example over here is that my David Lim's address. Okay, so let's say I have his passport information. I need to edit the passport information. I can simply click the text in hyperlink or blue. This will allow me to edit the information. So for example, I made a mistake that this is a Malaysia passport. It's not a Malaysia. I'll put Singapore. And here I can see that it's already expired passport. I'm just going to put in, let's say 2028 and click save. So this is how we manage. So similarly for mobile, if you need to change the mobile and enter the notes, you can just click save. So this is how we edit the contact information. If let's say you need to update their passports, the NRIC, and so on. So in this contact profile as well, this is a way also that to preview whether this contact is attached to multiple companies and what is their position for each of those companies. So for example, David Lim, he is a signatory for 14 October Training Company. And not only that, he is also a nominee shareholders. He has office holdings to multiple companies and also registrable controller and shareholdings as well. This is this is a very useful tool to help you see the overview if this contact is attached to multiple companies, especially when you're doing your compliance check as well. And again, similarly in here, I've got my compliance tab. Click save. I'll click save first over here. Because I have not clicked save. I'll just put this as Singapore. Maybe I made the 6. Type it one more time. It should not show. So earlier it was showing that David Lim's passport detail is not, it's already expired. For example, one of the addresses earlier on. So here it's okay because we've made the change. But here on the other hand, the passport detail is not correct. This was the old passport details. And you can just correct that as well. So for the compliance part, it will read this part, passport detail. If it's required to do PAP check, you can add in the free text and attach your supporting documents. And email screening can be found in each contact. So email screening, this feature is a paid services. So you can test it out as well for one person. So our email screening, or what we call the BGL ID, it's only to verify the ID verification of that contact. So you can, and it's pay as per use. So if you want to check the ID, whatever ID that was given by this person, David Lim, you can check whether it's on an email database in global sanction, or if you want a much more information like adverse news media, you can toggle on this option as well. So this is an option for you if you're currently not using any AML software. We do have this feature BGL ID that allows you to do an email screening of that particular contact's ID information. Right, so that's how we navigate into the contact. Similarly, in your contacts, we have the global address. So global address allows you to see all the address that you've added in. You can also filter based on not used. You can see that this company, this addresses has been added. It's not attached to any contacts or companies, so you can just delete them if you want to. And we don't have any matches at this again. Now to edit a company, so this is a very common scenario that happens, that my residential address, for example, it's the postal code is showing in the beginning, and then I've got Singapore over here. Now to edit that, if you recall earlier what I've mentioned, for a Singapore address, you need to make sure to put in the town and click save. So in your documents resolution, it will appear the full address except this word Singapore. The word Singapore is just an indicator that this address is a Singapore address. It won't apply for a Singapore address. You'll also be able to view if this address is used across multiple contacts or multiple companies. And to view that, you can simply click on your reports. So click download full. And this allows you to view who are the companies or who are the contacts using this address. So you can see that 18 September used this as a address for debentures, directors, and so on. You also have NDM using his contact address. DBS Bank is using this address, and so on. So you can see what are the historical who used these addresses as well. Right. So that's how we managed, edit, modify your addresses, your contacts and addresses in CAS 360. Any questions so far before we proceed? All right, if no questions, I'm gonna go and proceed to our lesson number 4, which is on your page 67 of your manual. Now I'm not gonna cover the bank account as I've already covered that in earlier topic, but if you want to find out more and refresh your memory on the bank account, you can find it on the page 67 of the manual and just click on that. So otherwise, we'll cover on the topic on officers' changes. So we do have some prerequisite information before you can process your change of officers and use CAS 360 to process those documentations. You can read that a little bit more in your page 68. Now, going back to CAS 360, so again, we're going to go to your company selection and we'll select the same company that we've just created and select this company. So in this exercise and office holder changes, we're going to learn how to appoint an officers and also resign a officer. So here, an example, I will have add officers and I will select a new officer over here that already has a record. So I'm going to select director and appoint Veronica as the new director. Now, before I save this, so something that I also want to highlight that aside from directors and your secretary, you can also appoint officers like your CEOs, managing director, alternate manager, and also your nominee director. If you have encountered cases like appointing a nominee director for a company, you can simply find it under your officers tab. So here I'll just do a very basic. I'll add in your officers as a director, click save, and automatically CAS 360 will enable your prepare forms. The print toggle has been switched on, and this will prepare all the set of documents for a appointment of officers. So I've got over here to preview the document, simply click the text in blue. This will allow you to preview the documents. You also have your consent to act, your register of directors, and so on. And something to highlight as well in your document production is that you have the ability to amend or control the document formats and information you can display in each of the document by simply going to options. So a very quick tip with in CAS 360 is that always check if there is an option button into that feature or into that document or contact. This will allow you to know what kind of things that you can customize or adjust within the software. So for example, over here, I've got my director minutes and resolution. If I want it to be a minutes format, it will change the setting altogether. So keep it as resolutions. If you want assigning line, date format, you can also remove the dates in the headings. If you want to display the ID and passport, you can do that as well. If not, you can switch that off. So it really depends. Leave the date, document date blank. And let's say I'm just going to use a simple, the system default template for now and click save. So you can adjust quite a number depending on the document as well. Example option over here. If you want the secretary to sign it, you can do that. If you want all the documents to be signed as well, you click save. And once you're happy with that, you can either download the document or send to the client. Now, in this exercise, I'm going to teach you how do we send the document. So to send the document from the software to your client. So here I've got send all. And when I click send all, this will first give me a preview of what is sent to the client. You can see this is David Lim. This is the content of the email. It is a digital signing as I've linked up my digital signing software onto CAS 360, and I can customize the text as well. So let's say prepared as of today and supporting documents. Please see all the attached documents. Like for 14, please review the documents. Please sign the documents. Documents through the link, for example. And you have all that. I can just remove this portion over here. So you can add in what you want into the header. You can also customize the email templates. I'm going to cover that in level 2, but essentially I'm just editing the text that I want to display. So I'm customizing it one-off. All right. So this is appointment, for example, of new director. So that's that. And I can simply click send. And what it does is CAS 360 will send it directly to that email of David Lim. And let's assume I am David Lim. I should be receiving an email in my inbox to display that I have this information over here. So you can see, I'm just going to show you quickly. how in my inbox will look like. Let's assume this is the inbox of my client, right? And you can see this is the content of my earlier on, and I could just, because it's a digital signing, I can do the digital signing over here, but I'll cover this a little bit more on Thursday on how do we go through the process. But essentially, when you send an email directly from CAS 360, it will display to you, it will display into your client's email in this format below. All right. So this is how we process. Again, when the document is downloaded or sent to the client, you will see that it will create a folder for you to save all that document that you have prepared. So going back to the officers tab, you can now see I have appointed Veronica Tan as the new officers. Now, the next exercise for a officer's change is to resign an officer. So let's assume that I want to resign David Lim as the officer. So I can simply go to the status and change it to resign. You will see that the option tab right over here will enable you to click to enable whether to confirm this resignation. And again, the print toggle has been switched on, and you can simply download the document or send directly to the client. So this is my resignation letter. And if I were to switch to another tab and go back to Officers tab, you can see that the current officers has now been displayed. So we've only got one director and one secretary. If you wish to view all your officers, including the historical and resigned ones, you can simply filter all to display even your resigned officers. Now, in this section as well, you have the ability to reprint documents. So for example, these appointment of Jennifer as a secretary, you want to be able to reprint that document again, you can simply switch on the toggle button and it will enable the prepare forms to reprint that particular transaction. All right. So that's for officers changes. Any questions for office holder changes? All right. Okay, if there's no questions, so we're gonna go to the next topic. All right, just quickly for a second as well, as I'm having a bit of technical issue at the moment. Okay, now the next topic that we'll cover is your members changes. So in your members changes, we're going to learn how to do different types of share transaction, including the allotment of shares, transfer of shares, preparing your nominee shareholders, and also registrable controllers. And along the process, I'm going to also show to you how to use the document review and document deadline reminders that you can set within your document production page. So again, going back to your CAS 360, just gonna switch off this toggle button right here. we're working on the same company. Again, and here in this section, we're going to select shareholders. So at this stage, since our registration of this company, we've only have one subscription. So what we're going to do is we're going to allot a new shares for a new shareholder. So here I will select in a allotment of shares. So I have other share transactions available as well within the system. But in this exercise, I'm just going to select allotment. So here I will select in a new shareholder. So I'll select James Chan. It will also ask me a question whether this is a share held by a beneficiary owner or a trust. If you have a beneficiary owner, you can simply add in that information. Otherwise, you can just toggle off that as well. And here I'll just add in ordinary shares. If I have a subclass, let's say I have subclass B, I can add it in and I'll put in 300. So earlier on, we didn't add in any issued shares. So let's assume I add in like a issued share for this particular contact. And just add in right here. And in the certificate details, because by default, earlier registration, we had the certificate number 1. So automatically the system will assign certificate number 2. So here I can click saved and it will help me, it will generate that documents for me. So you can see on the left-hand side that your chart has been updated. We have 2 types of ordinary shares. One is a ordinary share standard, and the other one, it has a subclass B. And you can filter based on how many ordinary shares. You can see right over here. And if I want to edit, let's assume that, oh, it's actually not a ordinary share subclass B. It's just a standard one. Again, you can always go to the options and click edit to change and just click to remove that subclass, click save. And you can see right now that it has been consolidated under standard ordinary shares. So here the prepare form has been enabled, so you can now prepare the documents for allotments of shares. So you have your share certificate number 2 assigned to this particular new shareholders, to James Chan. You also have the application of shares. You have your register of members. And also your director minutes and resolutions. So once you're okay with this, I can simply click on download to send it to my client for signature. So that's pretty straightforward when it comes to adding in allotting the shares. So again, it will save under your, this information will get saved into your global documents or the company documents of in CAS 360. Now, next exercise is another type of share transaction, which is a very common one, will be your share transfers. So again, similarly, we select the type of share transaction, which is a share transfer. And here we're going to select a share transfers. So I'm selecting one of the current members, which is for this case, James Chand. And here I'm going to select a new shareholder. So James, for this exercise, I'm going to transfer 100 shares to Jennifer. I have maybe just 100. I'll just put in 5,000. And automatically, CAS 360 will generate a balance certificate issued to James Chant, this transfer, and certificate number 4 to the new shareholder, Jennifer. Now, if you do not practice maintaining a balance certificate, you can simply click on none, and ultimately, it will automatically assign certificate number 3 to Jennifer, the new shareholder. But for this exercise, I'm going to keep the balance certificate so that you can see the difference as well. I'm going to click save. You can see that the chart has been updated. Certificate 3 and number 4 toggles has been switched on. So I can now prepare the documents for a share transfer. So here you will see a share certificate number, and you have two share certificate. One is a balance certificate from James Chan, and certificate number 4 is assigned to Jennifer. You will also have your share transfer form and your transfer journal. Now, also a quick tip in your document production is that you have the ability to reorganize your order of your documents. So for example, your share transfer over here, you want it to be the first thing to display after your change of summary. So you can simply click onto this document, hold the mouse, and move these documents to whichever you want to move. So let's assume I want to move it right after my company change summary. So you can toggle and move around your documents, the order of the documents, if you prefer. So I'll put it maybe right after my members, and then you have a share transfer form, certificate number, and your director's minutes and resolution, and so on. So you can move the order however you liked, and you can also save this order as well by simply clicking save order and rename the order type. So let's say order format number 2, so that you can see by default it will show the default. If you want your customized format, earlier is order format 2. So you can move around the order of your documents whichever you like. And again, you can send it directly to your client or download. Now, before I send this document, it's one of the tools that I want to also show are some features of what we call document review. So in CAS 360 document production page, you have the ability to review the documents. So in here, document download documents all, or download all or send all, you will notice that there is a arrow up next to it. So you can either send the document, download all and separate PDF, and also download all and set up what we call automatic document reminder. What this tool does is that when you download this document, the software will prompt you to set up a automated reminder to send to the client about that document. So for example, in this case, this share certificate, I want to download this document. So we'll have a document format. You can see this is your share transactions, share transfer, share certificates. And if I go back to CAS 360, you can see that automatically the system prompts me to add in a reminder. So I can add up to 6 reminders for this specific transaction. So let's say I will do it, just gonna put it on today so that we can see how this document will look like. 05, and I'll put in at 5:55 p.m. I'm just gonna add in one of the addresses there. And I've got my email template, which is customizable. And I click save. So I might want to attach that PDF document and click save. So what it does is that that reminder will be sent, pending to be sent to my client. So these can be found in your message under pending. So when it hits maybe at 5:45, for example, 5:55, for example, you will receive a notification. So let me just again just change this to another. I'll put it at 4 so that 4:56 local time, click save. So by 4:56 p.m., my client will receive an email reminder about this document I've processed. So for the meantime, we'll wait for these documents. Meantime, we're gonna cover another topic. So that's how we add in a document reminder used in your document production. So one of the questions that come through is, can we download in Word format instead of PDF? So you do have the ability to download it in Word document. However, this is not something that we recommend because one is that the data that you record or the changes that you record within the software might not match up to your other files or system recorded outside of CAS 360. So that's one. So if you were to look prepare documents, you can see that example over here, a document, export Word document, you can export it out. Now, the reason why we don't recommend this is firstly, the high chances of company data discrepancy is very high, okay? You may be able to edit it in your Word document, but these record that you edited and don't save it into the CAS 360 will cause not consistent data information. So we always, a very good practice that whenever, if you're using CAS 360 and you're recording all the company changes within, especially the data information or anything recorded, it's best to do it within the system and export it into PDF. So I hope that answers the question. So I should be receiving my emails. I'm just gonna quickly go to my sample email. I should be getting that as a sample. All right, so here, just gonna give you an example over here. You can see that in my email, you have a document reminder sent to my client with the attached document of that share transaction. So this is a great way, and it saves a lot of time. Instead of downloading it, you can send it directly to your client. You can just simply change the header and also change the content of your email over here to prompt them to reply to which email. They can also reply to this email. There's a email settings. I'll cover this a little bit more on Thursday on how you can set your email address as the reply to email when your client receive automated email from CAS 360. All right, so that's for automated document reminder. So next that I want to go through will be your nominee shareholders. So nominee shareholders can be found under your shareholders tab, and you will see right over here, nominee shareholders. To set up, again, select add new nominee shareholders. So here I'll just locate a nominee shareholder. Jenica Song. Additional notes, again, save and prepare. So this will generate the register of nominee shareholders for you. If you have any additional documents, you can simply upload additional documents. And again, download the document or send all. So that's how we processed. And you can also go to nominee shareholders. And if you want to view the nominee shareholders, it will display for you. You can also select print nominee shareholders if you need to reprint the documents again. Now, next is your registrable controller. So you can see the same tab over here, shareholders. You can set up your registrable controllers for the company. So some prerequisite is that you will need to make sure that this toggle button has been switched off to prepare the notices for registrable controller. When you first click on registrable controller, you see that it does not allow you to set up the registrable controller for the company. It only allows you to print the document. Whereas by toggling in the button, it will enable two other features, allow you to add the controller and allow you to view the registrable controller. So here I will add in my registrable controller. So I'm just going to add in, let's say, Jenica Rogers, appointed. If you have the notice been sent, click Save and Prepare. So what you'll see in this whole process is just the registrable controller and confirmation. So here I want not only this document, but I also want to be able to assign a notice. So to do that, simply go to close that over here. So here you can view your registrable controller. And instead, go to your registrable controller. And this time around, we're going to select Print Registrable Controller Documents. A pop-up screen will appear. This says Notice of Registrable Controller. If this registrable controller requires a notice, switch on the toggle button, select your registrable controller, let's say Jenica song. I think it's a Jenica song. Capacity. Or signatory, and then prepare. So you can add as many notices as well if you have multiple registrable controller. Click prepare, and you can see that you have the notice as well, and as the controller. So I need to edit this as well. Let's say I'm just going to close this part. So you can see that you have your registrable controller. You have your confirmation letter and your notice as well. So the notice will be populated with the names, the information, the signing partner. And before I download these documents, another feature that I like to also share within the document production is the ability to flag the document for review. So sometimes before we send it to our client, the user send it to the client, we want our managers or the head of department to review these documents. To do that, simply switch on the toggle button, click the reviewer's email. So I'm just going to select my email first, and I can add in the reviewer's notes. So I can say, please review the document if the contact person is correct, for example. So this is my note to my manager to review. So once I've done that, I can simply click send all. So in this whole format, it's not sending directly to your client list. You are able to edit what to be sent to the client, but before it gets confirmed or reviewed by the manager, or what we call the reviewer, it will first go to the reviewer for the reviewer to check on the document before approving it. So here, I'll just click send, and it will not send to the client first. It will send to the reviewer. So let's assume I am the reviewer, and you can see as a reviewer, my interface will get a notification under my Documents tab. This is to prompt me as the reviewer that one of my staff member has sent a document for me to review before it gets sent to the client. Here, I'll review the documents, and I can simply approve if I'm happy with the information. I can add in reject document or approve. And once I click on approve documents, it will prompt me and it will show to me that this is the email content that will be sent to the client. Otherwise, if the document is rejected, please select the correct person. For example, reject the document. And what will happen as the preparer, if I go back to the point of view of a preparer, I will receive a notification that the document I sent for my head of department or my manager to review has been rejected. So I can simply click the view. This will show to me that that document that I've just prepared has been considered as failed, and I need to amend whatever I need to amend. I will also see what my manager has put in, the note that has been put in as the instruction. So this is how we do a document review. All right, so any question about this topic? All right. So if there's no questions, just a recap again for these share transactions. So share transactions can be found in your shareholders tab, and the shareholders tab not only includes your share transaction, but also the ability to set up your registrable controller and nominee shareholders. It is also very important to switch on the toggle button on the left-hand side. This is to allow you to not just print the notice, but also set up the data of your registrable controller and save it within the system. All right. So that's for members changes. Now, the next topic I want to go through is your prepare company name change. So this is a very common exercise or occurrences within the company if they need to do some renaming and we have to process the name change. So again, in the same similar format, we're going to select the same company. So for 14 October, select this company. And this time now, we're going to select this tab called name registration. So under the name registration, you can click on add name and select company, change of company name. So you will have some prerequisite questionnaire as well if you need to add it on. I'm going just to select, put in 14 cherry team, for example, company. You can also select your pre-suffixes in principle approval, obtain, resolution date. If you don't need to add in that, otherwise leave it as it is. By standard in Singapore, it needs to have the private limited, and click save and prepare documents. So again, save and prepare documents. It will generate your standard documents, including your director minutes and resolution, members of consent short notice. Again, this one can be customizable. I will cover this on Thursday's lesson, how to customize documents and your members' minutes. So I'll just simply download the document so I can save a file in my global documents or company documents to have a record that I've processed the company name changed. So go back to these, this is my PDF. So you can see right now that this company name is currently pending. And if you want to apply this change of company name immediately without waiting for the approval, you can simply go to options and remove the pending status. So here I need to make sure that this application of the new address is not the same date as today. It will have to be tomorrow's date. So if I were to type in and locate 14 October, I will no longer see that in my list, but it will be 14 cherry instead. However, if you were to search for 14 October, for example, you are still able to find it. It will just display as previous company name that is now the 14 cherry. This is the previous name. And simply select, and this will display to you that 14 October company has now been renamed to 14 Cherry Team. So this is how we processed a company name change documents in CAS 360. All right, so lastly, all right, any questions so far in the company name change? All right, so otherwise, the last topic that we want to cover will be your documents. So as mentioned earlier in CAS 360, every time you download or send a document to a client out of the software will automatically create a folder with a trace number to keep track of the document, to save a copy of that document. So there are two ways to navigate. One is in your global documents. So global documents allow you to see all the documents that you have prepared across all companies. And another process is whenever you are inside the profile of a company, for example, in this case, I've selected this company, it will also display under documents, company documents. The big difference is that you can see that it only displays documents specifically to the company I'm inside right now or what I've selected, which for this case, Cherry Team. And you can see that these are all the documents that I have prepared, processed for the last couple of hours. Now to preview the documents, again, simply click on the option tab, select attachments, and it will display to you all the document you have exported. Each of the folder will have a trace number to help you to keep track of these changes. And if you have any signed document, you can simply attach. Let's say I'll attach this document. A best practice is once you have attached the document, change the status to something like a document signed, lodged, or so on if it's required or signed by client. So each of these file, you can see that in order for you to know what exactly is inside the file details, you can simply expand and it will give you the whole summary of what exactly is inside that folder. So for example, if it's a transfer of shares, trace number, you have the trace number 1129. You can simply click on the one change, expanded. It will show to you what exactly is the share transfer in that folder. So that's how we view it. And also inside the options, so there's a lot of features you can see over here. You can even send a document reminder to the client reminding about this document if it's still pending for signature. You can also view the historical trails. If you sample again under options, select history, it will help you keep track of when was the document prepared, when it was signed. There will be a date and timestamp as well. So that's for company documents. Now going back to the global documents, the big difference is that it displays all documents prepared across all companies. So not just limited to 14 Cherry Company, but also other companies. This process, this global documents is a great way for you to filter if you want to see all specific documents. For example, all documents that has electronically signed, you can filter it based on document alerts filter. It will display to me all the documents that has been digitally signed. Similarly, this in each of this document file, you have the option tab. You have again the ability to edit edit the information, whether it has been signed or view the attachments. So for this case, because it has a seamless digital signing, the power of digital signing is that when all the signing partners have signed the document, automatically DocuSign will sign the complete copy of signed document and store it into the folder system. And it will also update the status of the document as document signed. So this will cut down the process of you chasing the client, each and every client to sign the document, or of trying to locate all the signed copy of the document. You also have the ability to view the historical trail. Similarly, in the company, you can see that I have prepared this document at the date and which time, when it was sent to the client, and when did the client sign the document. So one of the great things and preview using the global documents is if you want, again, if you want to see all the documents based on an advanced filter, not just limited to one company. So for example, over here, I've got my advanced filter. I want to select a document type, and I want to see all the annual return documents instead, not just for one company. I can simply apply the filter. So this will display all the documents, all my annual return documents. And similarly, you can save this filter as well if you don't want to just, if you don't want to click on document type, you can just add in save this filter by saving save filter annual returns only, AR list. So that in the future, if you want to use a save filter, so let's say I clear that. I don't want to go to my document type or select my filters. I can just go to my save filter and type in AR list, and it will list all my AR list. So you can create your saved filters as well. Similarly, I have multiple filters, post incorporation, documents, and company status change, for example. So how I made this is essentially I stacked the filters over here. So let's assume document type. I've got my annual documents, status as manually filed, for example, and apply filter. So this is how we see all the annual returns that are manually filed, if you want to view them as well. So this feature can be found in company document as well, but this is much more useful if you want to run a filter across all companies as well. And if you want to save this filter advanced, again, similarly, I go to my document type, annual documents, set it as manually filed. This stack filter can be saved. I can just add in my information as AR manually filed and click save so that it will save in your future save filter, so you don't have to one by one filter based on different categories. So this is how we navigate onto your documents. All right, so this is the last lesson or topic in CAS 360. So any questions so far pertaining to this topic? So something also I want to highlight before I close this session is that in your global documents, you have the ability to apply and upload external documents. So for example, in the case of financial statement, if so CAS 360 does not generate financial statement as we are not an accounting software or more corporate secretarial. So if you want to attach, for example, a document that it's not prepared, a standard document not prepared by CAS 360, you can just simply select a company and let's say financial statement, document, select a document receive. Maybe I'll have over here and attach the document there. So again, it will create a filter for you to see that, oh, you have some documents over here that you have attached. Right, so any questions so far before we end the session? All right. So for those of you having, I'm still having some issue with registered filing agent, please do drop me an email and send me a screenshot if you have, or simply go to our live chat supports right over here. They're quite quick and they will automatically create a support ticket for you should they need further investigation on your errors if you're facing any. Otherwise, thank you everyone for this session. So I'm just going to quickly, if you have any questions, do send us through your questions. Otherwise, thank you so much for joining for the sessions. If for those of you who have not signed up for the level 2, please do sign up now. I think we're run out of sessions or spots. Otherwise, the next one will be in November, and that will be our last training session of the year. All right. Thank you, everyone, and have a great evening ahead.